In this short video, I'll be showing you the steps on how to find cases that cite specific sections of legislation in Westlaw Australia. To help illustrate this process, I'll be using the following 3 examples. So let's jump in right now to the home screen in Westlaw Australia and we'll kick off with example number 1. All right, in example 1, I'm looking for the Evidence Act 1995, New South Wales, section 84. So to do that, we just go up to the global search bar on the homepage of Westlaw Australia up the top here, and we're going to enter in our legislation, Evidence Act 1995, and I'm just going to put a space and then the provision number 84, there we go, and it is coming up with the correct piece of legislation that I'm after and the correct section. So that's fantastic. Just a little side note, occasionally it may not come up like it has just now, and you may need to come back in here and put in the word section 84. So see how you go. I don't know why it does that, but yeah, sometimes I find just putting in the section number is fine, and other times you've got to add the word section as well. So anyway, moving forward. So the first search result is the one that I'm after, so I'll just click on the link. Excellent. So now section 84 details are displayed on the screen. So if you need to review the section 84 details or whatever piece of legislation and section that you need to assess, we're going to go up to the Citing References tab, and you'll notice that there's a total of 68 records that actually discuss section 84 in the Evidence Act. So that's fantastic. So what you should do though, just another big tip, and it's a very important tip, and that is if you're not familiar with this area of law and this particular provision that you're researching, then before jumping into the cases and having a look at all the different cases that discuss 84, what I suggest you do is go into the secondary sources first and look at some summary commentary and law journals that discuss this section, and that will help fast track you to identify the most important cases that discuss this section. So as you can see there's 53 cases that discuss section 84, but we really want to find what are the most important authoritative cases that provide the leading rules and principles on how to apply section 84. So let's just have a quick look in secondary resources. In this example, we have 5 records for general commentary, and it looks like there's 10 records for law reviews and journals. So what I would suggest you do is that you look at the commentary items, and sometimes there might be many more listed than 5. So in this situation, you could go in there and read each and every one of those, and there should be links to the relevant case law. And also I would go into the law reviews and journals. So let's have a look at that now. Great. And the 10 records for the law reviews and journals are now displayed. So you can just scroll down, glance your eye on those 10 records, and obviously wherever you see the highlighted yellow, that's where you can drill down to see the further details. Let's just drill down on this first one. So here we go, confessions and admissions to undercover police and police agents. Let's have a look in here. Excellent. So this is the Australian Law Journal, volume 74. I would scroll down here and have a look at the commentary and the summary of section 84 and also the links to the key cases. So let's scroll down, and it keeps talking about Swaffield and Pavic. So it appears that they must be 2 very important cases. So already I'm making a mental note and some side notes to look up Swaffield and Pavic, because they look like 2 cases that I should read in a lot of detail. All right, so that's one example of looking at a law journal. So let's go back the screen and let's pull up the commentary records. And again, you can scroll down and drill down to any of these records here. So that is going to really help you point towards the most relevant cases. So then what you can do is, of course, go back to the cases, and what you can do in here is over on the right, just make sure that most detail is selected. But what you can also do is apply the filters over here on the left, such as the jurisdiction. So let's open up that. Let's say I'm mostly interested in federal and New South Wales. You can, of course, also select a date filter, but I'm just going to add that one filter just to give an example. Great. So now only the New South Wales and federal cases are displaying that discuss Section 84. All right, so that's a quick overview on how to find case law for a particular section. All right, let's now jump into our second example. In this example, it's a family law matter, and the piece of legislation that I'm looking for is the Family Law Act 1975 Commonwealth, Section 60 CC subsection 2. In this example, I'm going to be using a slightly different process. So if you remember in our first example, going to the home page in Westlaw Australia, I simply just went up to the global search bar up at the top and I entered in the legislation and the section number up the top, and that kicked off that process. For this example, in our second example, I'm going to be first of all going down here to the link All Cases and clicking on that link. And the second step is to click on the advanced link. Great. And now what we need to do is scroll down to these fields down here. So legislation title, which is where we're going to enter in the legislation act name and then the provision. So I'm going to do that now. So Family Law Act 1975, and the section that I'm looking for is 60 CC, and I'm not going to include the subsection 2 at this point because that can be problematic. So I'm just going to put in this section, so 60 CC. Now, so what I'm going to do now is then just click on search. Great. So now we have how many cases listed? Oh, there's about 10,000 cases listed because the only search item that I've put in now is obviously the Family Law Act and the Section 60 CC. So what we can now do is, obviously there's way too many there that are discussing Section 60 CC. So what we need to do is start applying some filters, and the filters are all over here on the left-hand side. So if you wanted to, you could put in a date range. I'm going to put in a reported status, so I only want to see reported cases, so I'll add that in. For the practice area, it's always a good idea to put that in. I'm going to select family, and if I wanted to, I could add in some other filters, but for now I'm just going to click apply. All right, so we have that narrowed down now to 220 cases. Still too many to read all of those, so obviously ideally you would want to apply some more filters. I am going to apply another filter, and I'm going to add in the subsection, because remember I am actually looking for 60 CC subsection 2. To do that, we go back over to the filter panel on the left hand side and see this search free text entry field. I'm going to click in there and it'll bring up an additional window where I can enter in my search criteria. But this time I have to add the double quotation marks because I want it to search for exactly 60 CC subsection 2. So double quotation, 60 CC subsection 2. So there we go. We've got a double quotation mark and click continue. And now I have to click apply to refresh all the filters. Great, that's narrowed it down to 139 cases. So normally you would have a few extra filters that you would have entered and therefore narrowed down your list of cases even more. But for the purpose of this example, what I just want to cover right now is just that you would scroll down, and wherever you can see the highlighted parts, that's where you can drill down and do some further research. Now, also, I'm noticing that there's no red flags for these top ones here, or the orange flag. The red flag means that the case, the decision, and the legal rules have been overturned. So you really can't rely on a case if there's a red flag. If there's an orange or a yellow flag, then that is a point for you to be very cautious about relying on that case for any legal authority. So I'm going to start drilling down and having a look and doing some initial reading for these cases at the top here. This third one here, I can see it's actually gone all the way to the High Court. So it's probably a good starting point for me to start drilling down. And I can see it's definitely discussed 60cc subsection 2 down here. So what I can do is simply go into the case. What I wanted to highlight here is, given that this case has gone all the way to the High Court, I would suggest you always go up to the Table of Authorities tab and have a look and see what legal authority did this case actually rely on. All right, let's jump into example number 3. The details are on the screen there for you. And I'm going to be following a similar approach that I used in example number 1, where I just go up to the global search bar and enter in my legislation and sections. So let's do that. Civil Liability Act 2002 and space, and then just 5B. And straight away the correct search result is displaying for me: Civil Liability Act 2002, New South Wales, 5B General Principles. So that's good. So I'm going to click on that. Great. So 5B is now displayed. All the legislation provision details are there if I need to refresh my memory. But what I am looking for are secondary resources, because I need assistance in understanding the application of this piece of legislation, and in particular this provision. So to do that, we are going to select the Citing References tab, and I'm going to select secondary sources. And now what I want to do is put in a filter of the subsection. So you can do that by clicking on the filter tab and click in the free text entry. And I'm going to use double quotation marks, and I'm going to put in 5B subsection 1A. There we go, close quotation mark, and click continue, and then click apply. Great, so now we have about 19 secondary resource records here. So you can, as per usual, just scroll down and drill down as required. What I'm going to do is drill down on the second record here: Local Government Law and Practice, New South Wales, 5B General Principles. So this is looking pretty good. Great. So what we'll do now is scroll down and let's have a look and see what information is provided. And it has provided the 5B provision details again. And I'm in particular looking at subsection 1A, where it says a person is not negligent in failing to take precautions against a risk of harm unless the risk was foreseeable. That is, it is a risk of which the person knew or ought to have known. So that is the particular provision that I'm looking for assistance in understanding how to apply. So let's scroll down and see if there's any commentary and guidance. And there is some commentary here about 5B more generally, which is great. I would be reading all of this in great detail. And scrolling down, though, it looks like I also have section 5B, subsection 1A, which is what I'm needing to learn more about. And let's have a look here. So it goes on to say the test formulated by Justice Mason is still relied upon to determine foreseeability as follows. So this is fantastic. So straight away, this is pointing me towards a case of Wyong Shire Council that I think I really need to download, save, and study. And what I would do is it provides at 47 where to find the actual legal principle from Justice Mason, and he provides guidance here on what it means for that provision for subsection 1A. So that's exactly the type of direction and information that I'm looking for. What I would then do is look at other secondary resources and see if it continues to point me towards this case here, Wyong Shire Council and Justice Mason. So if I find that after looking at multiple secondary resources, it's all pointing me towards this particular case, then my confidence is increasing every minute. And I would definitely be downloading that case and doing further research, of course, and broader research to make sure that there's not other cases that I should be looking to. So that concludes example number 3, and hopefully you've seen some of the pros and cons for using the different approaches, but hopefully what you've learned if you have looked at these 3 examples is the power and the strength of always looking at secondary sources first before jumping into the cases. All right, see you next time.